Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another reading. This one is a little bit impromptu in the sense that I woke up this morning and I was thinking, yes, yes, it's time. So, if you are here, excuse me, thank you so much for hearing the call and thank you so much for being in attendance. Feel free to pause this video, of course, to go and get yourself a nice hot beverage, ding, because why not, right? But of course, you can have any other beverage. And I'm not going to even try to think about what the title of this video is because I've already done our quote unquote weekly reading, and I hesitate to assign this an astro sign because it just feels like a message that needs to come through. Also, I do notice that there's a bit of a delay or a lag here between um, um, my what I'm saying and also the video and what I'm doing in the video as it's being rendered. So if you are also having that delay on your end, and it's not just on my end as I'm recording this, oh, I think it's back. Oh, maybe. Then just switch your mindset into be about having an audio, an audio version of this channel session. All right, so let's go ahead and, oh, I just heard make some magic. So, first of all, I've already said our prayers. I've already called in everything that we need. I've already set intentions. Of course, you can go ahead and do so for yourself. Always remember that you're in control. If something is said here that triggers you in a way that makes you feel like, oh, I can't accept this, I don't want to hear this, or oh, this scares me, or I'm just not interested, or oh, I forgot I have to take the trash out, or just whatever it is, that is completely okay. Right? Just because I've already pressed play. So right now the energies are actually flowing. Some of you may feel it, and some of you may not. Notice my voice is already my words already tripping over. So whew, let me like, okay, I feel like I need to adjust this. Look, see this staff that he's doing now. We just have to line it up right there. Okay, so it's about getting into position. Anyway, yeah, so don't you worry. The message is for you and it will find you if it needs to be for you, be with you because it's energy. Also, if you think, oh, this is scary or this may hurt me or just whatever, always remember that anything that comes through my channel, I always set the intention, and I'll go ahead and set it again right now. I always set the intention that if something comes through that is going to be too much for your system, or it's going to upset your system too much in a way that it becomes you're unable to process it or just whatever, then it will be properly placed to the side and made distributed to you when it's ready. Because I'm a delivery person, I'm delivering a message, I'm delivering the frequencies, but it doesn't mean that you have to be blown out of your skin, or this is what happens. A lot of people feel the call to, let's say, let me start working on my kundalini or just whatever. Notice, oh, anyway, so many other things coming, and or let me go and do this modality or that, and they just kind of just boop, and they go and do it. And what they end up doing is they end up overloading their system. The guides are correcting my word, overcharging their system, right? Now it's interesting that they're saying the word overcharging as well. And also, I don't think that it's a correction. I think that they were using another word to deliver another message because, oh, okay, so we're launching into a message here. They're talking about overcharging in, well, first of all, we talked about overloading the system, but now the second thing is we're talking about overcharging specifically for services. Now that's interesting. Now I'm being drawn to take a look at this card. We're both looking at it. Remember, they had me line it up so this staff is in alignment with this staff here. And now what I'm seeing is, notice the alignment here. See this cloud aligning on this front card? And then it's mirroring on this lightning round. What was I? Lightning, uh, you know, whatever, right there. Just to show you the frequencies, I'm trying to get it out. If you go back to the beginning of this reading, you'll notice how like quick and articulately I was speaking, and now I'm like trying to grasp at these words. And they're saying no wonder you're trying to grasp at it because it's not there in particular. Look at this, see, right here. So this is what they're saying about sometimes when they're saying spiritualists, so-called spiritualists. So I don't know who this message is for or what this is for. And again, if you are feeling a kind of way, if you're feeling triggered listening to this, don't. Remember, we're presenting information, it's coming through with frequency. And so we're going to ask your egoic mind and the conscious mind to step aside for a second so that they could receive this information. If you're feeling like triggered, it's only because your learning, your earthly learnings and programming is kind of like going into defense, because that's part of what learning does. It wants to defend itself, right? Or belief systems and ideologies. So anyway, what they're saying is overcharging, it comes at the benefit of self and doesn't allow for other to actually participate in the exchange. Now, that's what they're saying, but I also want to jump in and say that it's also understandable that we struggle with, well, what is it? What does it mean to charge? What does it mean to overcharge? What does it mean to undercharge? Quick example. For the first couple of years when I was doing this, I used to, well, if you guys have had a reading with me, we get in there. And really, once it starts, it just starts until it ends, and it pretty obviously always goes over the time, and that's, whatever. So my guides are always like, work on your timing. But also, they, for the first couple of years, after a couple of years, they were like, you need to charge more. And I was like, no. And I, at one point, I remember I was charging like $45 to do like an hour of work, an hour and a half of work, sometimes it's going into 2 hours of work, right? And they're like, you need to blah, blah, blah. But that advice was for me in particular based on my soul contract. Now, as I talk about this something within me opens up. And again, I'm in the reading, so I'm reflecting you guys and your energy. And so maybe something in your solar or something in your energy field. For some of you guys, I'm feeling the throat chakra, especially on the side of your neck, is opening up to exhale at something about the frequency about what I just said. And in fact, what did I just say? What were you guys saying? Yes, it was specific. That was specific for me, because one of the hallmarks of my chart, my soul curriculum, is self-worth and learning to recognize what it is, what my worth is, and to ask for that worth. Okay. So that is a difference from maybe another person who may be going through a similar lesson as me, but it may express differently for them, blah, blah, blah. But it's also different for some people who may be overcharging, right? And their reasons, those who overcharge in the eyes of higher perspective, they're each doing it for different reasons, right? So again, this message that's coming through is not, it's going to be taken by many people as a blanket statement, but it's not. It is think of it like as a divine pill, pill, so to speak. And each person takes it and it has a different effect on them, as it is meant to be, because we each have a different system. And by different system, we mean a different energy signature, different soul mission, a different egoic pattern, different traumas, different all sorts of stuff, and also different soul paths, soul curriculum. And so that being said, you're going to have to internalize it and sit with it for a little bit. Okay. So let's pull this over here. Now, this goes back to, yeah, it's almost like taking right out, like not a syringe, but like right out from the field. But let's go back to the weekly reading that I just posted. If you had a chance to look at that, hi, thank you. Thank you so much. And also welcome back. Then if you had it, they're also saying they mentioned spiritualist stuff, but they're actually now also kind of expanding that breadth, BREADTH. I'm like, wait a minute, breadth, to expand to other industries. Okay, so it doesn't have to be just spiritual work or whatever, right? It's because the form kind of doesn't matter. It's just what it is. Whew. Oh, it's a big one. Then what I was going to say is this goes back. Now we're being taken back to the weekly reading. If you watch that reading, then you may well notice how my articulation has changed now, right? Because that was also the message as it was coming in for me, was hitting my system as well. So I don't know how it hit all of your systems, but now as we're moving on to this next message, we're looking at what came through last week with the weekly reading. Oh, they're also saying, oh, thank you. See, sometimes I don't even recognize what I'm doing, and they're like, because my mind is going a mile a minute. They're like, you're receiving the message, you're checking in, clocking in with how it's hitting your energy field, but you're also tapping into everybody else's energy field here to see how to spin the message, what messages to bring in. Yeah, and that's true. That's why I now in hindsight, I realized after I gave that message, my consciousness physically like checked in with, because I could feel you guys, your energy, checked in with your energy fields. And then I realized, oh, some of you here are also providing services that are not spiritually stuff, like about energy work and all that. It's about physical things or services in other ways. And so that's why I included that. So thank you. That's a nice little recognition. Me over here like working like hold on, let me take a sip because then my stress, guys, because we're here with these hot beverages, no tears in our coffee, but my stress is also having my own ego issue with the sense like, oh, it's not good enough, it's not good enough, I'm not getting everything in, people are going to walk away without their messages, or I'm doing too much, or that message is wrong, and it's almost like on top of the work that I'm actually here to do, and then feeling in, then I have my own wounds kind of. Anyway, so hold on. Let's take a moment. Let's sip it out. Sip it out. Mm, mm. Okay. Gulp, gulp. All right. So these cards are from the weekly reading that we just did. Oh my God, it was 2 days ago. And actually, I did not move them from the desk, even though I had kind of pushed everything off to the side. These two remained. And this morning I realized, oh, that's why. Because remember, in that last reading, when we caught up with you on Monday, these two cards were coming out facing here. They were not facing this way. Remember, we were facing here. And what did I say? What happened at that time was that spirit was dipping something into your field, like a little like rod or something right here, using the symbology here, the metaphor, the symbols here. And they were pulling out, look, this large serpent from the field. Remember? I talked about that. And then at one point in the video, we allowed for some energetic extraction to occur. And I thought it was going to take longer. It did not. Remember, and I said, oh, now they're out of the field because they've already extracted it. And so I do want to remind you that anytime you come and you have energy work done, whether it's through this channel or other channels or other people in, excuse me, brick and mortar situations like people in your neighborhood or whatnot, remember that you're dealing with energy. You're dealing with energy. And so what happens in the energetic space is going to reverberate in such a way that it becomes manifest in your physical space. So your sign, one of the signs of that manifestation and coming into physicality was you watching this video, because the extraction had already occurred in the non-physical. And then it manifested enough to be brought to you through this video. And then now I'm going to add to that and let you know, or last video, I'm going to add to that and let you know that please expect to receive some type of reflective physical counterpart to that extraction. So something is going to be removed from your life is what I'm trying to say. And if it hasn't happened as yet, then please keep an open eye for it. And remember this video, because on this video, on this channel, we're not just giving readings, we're trying to get you to become more aware of the flow of energy. It helps you to become a better reader for some of you who are reading energies, especially by profession. And if not by profession, then you're just, doing it for yourself. It helps you also to become more attuned to incoming energy. And that's very important. When I say incoming energy, I mean energy that is hitting your energetic field. Now, like I said, excuse me, depending on what's going on in your energy field, in other words, depending on how many blockages you have because of the beliefs that you hold in your energy field, the time that it takes for an energy to enter into your field unconsciously to you, and then to make itself made manifest, made known in your physical life. And sometimes things happen in the physical and people still don't connect the dots, right? And that's fine. but the time that it takes is going to between hitting your field and manifesting is going to differ depending on how clear, energetically clear your field is, how awakened you are, meaning how aware you are to what's happening, how mindfully you progress through your life. So incoming energy and being able to read it is super, super awesome, because guess what it allows you to do? Number one, it allows you to be more aligned with the real time appearance of an energy in your field, or an event, that something that will one day become an event in your life. It allows you in more real time, and it's just a non-physical. The non-physical is the now moment, right? What's coming in. And then if you are able to hone your mindfulness, your ability to connect with that space, to go deeply within, to sit and reflect on what it is that's being received, then you can ahead of time, ahead of its manifestation, work through that and process it. And guess what? Once you process it, now it's no longer an issue in your energy field. So if something was coming into your field because you had some type of unprocessed trauma, or some type of belief system that was working against you, or some type of energy that was placed in your field, we don't need to get into that, or sometimes some type of energy that ended up in your field because of the company you keep, or just whatever like that, and just poor spiritual hygiene. If you're not able to catch those things and process them and resolve them and just throw them out of your field, then guess what? It's going to keep hanging around there. And then, as nature calls it, it's going to be made manifest. Now, how these things manifest, we see it all over. Take a look. Could be a cup, could be your next husband, could have been your last husband, could be in the form of the child or the soul that comes in through you, right? Because guess what? If you haven't learned certain lessons, then, release person A, things like that. If you could be the car accident, it could be the loss of an opportunity. A lot of times it could even be the inability to manifest something that could have been for you, because it was like many things in the realm of possibility for you, but through your choices joined the ranks of what is now no longer as probable for you as other options that you have enlivened and made and drawn from possibility now into more probability. That's why they say all things are possible under God. That is the truth. And some people will be like, well, it's not possible if your leg just got amputated, it's not possible to just regrow it. I would argue, yes, it is. But the thing is, people don't realize the amount of clarity, and the amount of the level and the state at which your energy field has to be is beyond what most, if not 99.9% of humans are capable of at this moment. Of course, there's that one guy out in probably somewhere in Tibet that we will never hear of, but is kept very well, like a secret. He can do these things, right? There are people who can do these things. And in many ways, they're very much blessings to this earth, because there are teachers and to those who want to listen. But sometimes those teachers can't even be made manifest in our field, and let alone on our TVs and our path, because we're not a vibrational match to them. Why? If you don't even believe that's possible, then not only are you saying that, not only are you believing a false idea that there are things that aren't possible, right? But through your belief, you're pigeonholing yourself into a certain mindset that navigates you towards timelines where your very belief is a reality. And that's why when we are healing, what we're doing is we're healing perceptions. And that's why healing perceptions requires us to get rid of illusions, right? Now, Buddha will talk about illusions as being, whatever it is. Other people will talk about it as being whatever it is, right? But for your purposes right now, you can get started with a lot of the illusions that you're hearing in your everyday life, like things about you that aren't true, things about other people, all this division that's happening, the labeling that's happening, all of these stuff are illusions. But at the end of the day, they're programming you to believe in something that is other than what reality is. So when you hear things like all things are possible under God, that is the reality. all things are possible under God. But unfortunately, at this level of spiritual evolution that humanity as a collective is in, they are still so steeped in the physical, hence our physical lifestyle lives, right? And so they have practically believed themselves out of being able to have many things that are possible be brought into the realm of probability for them. Okay, so if there's this huge map of possibility, you can access possibility and make possibility more probable for you based on your mindset. Now, another thing to step in and say here, though, is that another thing that a lot of people fail to realize is that this is not a short game. It's not like, oh, one day I wake up and for those who do wake up and all of a sudden they're moving mountains and they're doing this and that, I'll tell you, it's not their first rodeo. And they've had many, many, many lifetimes where that's just not possible. But guess what? You're here now. And if you're hearing this message, there is ground that you can cover. There is something you can do. There is more healing that you can do to unblocking that mind state. Now, as I'm talking to you, they're showing me this serpent here. They're saying, turn the card over because the serpent isn't there yet. There yet. Ah, interesting. I was going to say, isn't there anymore. And then I hear the serpent isn't there yet. So let's discover what that is. Oh, also, now they're having me align this staff here with this. I never noticed this before. There's like a spike, another rod on his chair. I guess that makes sense, right? Look at these little rods on the chair. So now we're aligning it with another one. But one thing I do want to say is something a lot of people don't realize as well is that, remember, like let's say in university, we all understand, oh, I'm here for a university degree, however long my program is. At the end of that program, I'm going to get this degree. It means that I have completed a course of study, right? And so now I can say I have acquired this. But we have to remember that in order to reach here and have this acquisition, so to speak, this completion of the program, you have to take different courses, right? Just because OChem or organic chemistry is kicking your butt doesn't mean that you haven't successfully passed all these other classes, these other courses that you've been doing. Hey, man, you've been doing great. But listen, do you know how many people change majors simply because of organic chemistry? Hold on, let's take a sip here. Do you know how many of your medical professionals have flunked OChem? Okay, a couple times maybe, but they had to pass it eventually, and they did. Okay, and so my point is that even the best of us struggle in these hard courses, so to speak. But do not make the mistake of thinking, number one, that you're no good, you're a failure. This is my mistake. Guys, Chiron and Taurus, why are you bludgeoning me this way? Right? And you're no good and you'll never amount to anything, and you take what you're seeing in your now moment, or this isn't even a now moment, but you take what you're seeing in your environment, and then you think that that is a reflection of your value to yourself, to other people, to what you have to offer, to what you have to offer to spirit or source or whoever you guys have in mind, right? And that's just not the truth. There are other courses that you've been taking, other lifetimes that you've been blowing apart in awesome ways, right? Another thing you want to remember is that it's a course, you have to take it. You just have to take it. Okay. So let's say that for those of you who are like, dude, I'm killing this lifetime. A pluses, throw some A's on it, right? I'm getting A left and right in this course, this lifetime that I'm in. Like I'm winning. I am a but you don't know. And now they're connecting it back to this message. You don't know. Where's your serpent? Right? Everybody's got a little something in the tank, and it ain't sugar. No, I'm kidding. Wait, who's that? Was someone's uncle who just said that. I don't know who said that. I don't know it. But I've never said that before. So somebody's uncle, seeing little cowboy boots, somebody's uncle just came in and said that. Super cute for somebody here. All right. And so in a sense, they're saying you may be flying high now for those of us who may be feeling like they're flying high, whatever that means. Whether it means like, oh wow, yeah, this is no judgment. I'm literally just delivering the messages, right? But and as we know on this channel, we receive the messages, we allow it to unfold before us over time, over the next few days, and we don't try to decode it ourselves because we're just going to project our own stuff onto it. We allow it to come through. So even if you're feeling away, whether it's a good or not so good or in between or just kind of feeling in this video, allow the energies to be received and let them make their way through you. Sometimes the message that comes through you as it unfolds later is like, oh, this, that, and that part were not for me, but this one was, for example, right? So it's about, uh, and I'm in my mind, I'm like, why are we going through this step by step like this? And they're also giving a nod to this level of analysis or this level of letting it be, right? Shout out Beatles. This level of just allowing what energies come into your field, into your awareness, to just come in and you don't have to react to it. And this is a nod to this super tinderbox of a sub reality that a lot of people are in right now. And as we say on this channel, always remember that in your world, whatever your world is, the most cataclysmic thing that is going on for you could actually not even be registering as an event or anything of any importance to somebody who may be in your own neighborhood, someone who is across the world, someone who's at your workplace, because we're occupying the same space in a sense, but everybody is living their vastly different worlds. And yes, there is co-connection and there is co-connection by co-connection, is that a word? By soul contract and stuff. But remember, just remember, it's very much more personal than you think. And the most dangerous place for you to have yourself is in a state of reactivity. And as I just did that, I just did reactivity like that. Energetically, like what I saw was this expectation that I snap and then something will blow up here in the sun. That's not going to affect anything that is in God's reality, is what they're showing. And in fact, let's turn back here. Let's look at this card. See, boom, something hits down here. So in a sense, there are times when spirit or there's something from beyond or something that is at the holy hand. What are we saying? What's the word here? Divine hand is moved. And sometimes, look at how this hand is coming up. Sometimes we put our hands up, we do whatever, we take an action, whatever that action is. Could be prayer, could be activism, could be building something, could be making a decision, whatever, right? Because we're just varied out here. We individually and collectively may do something here. And then it just so happens that we also witness, boom, what seems to be a response from the heavens. And the fallacy of causation enters the chat. What is the fallacy of causation? Simply stated, the fallacy of causation is the false belief that just because B comes after A, that A caused B. Just because A happens before B happens doesn't mean that A caused B. In fact, B could have been caused by C. It could have been caused by D. It could have been caused by something that we don't even have awareness of, let alone to label. So the fallacy of causation reminds us that until you know all that is, and we talked about this before, no one in this world, me, you, your grandpappy, nobody is, or any heads of any institutions, I'm going to leave it at that. Nobody is God, okay? Although everybody has the God within them, everybody has the God within them. But not everybody is allowing, through their choice for alignment with spiritual law. This has nothing to do with religion, not 1 ounce, right? Unless they're operating in alignment with their natural self, which is love, then the expression of that God within is not going to be manifested. This is what it means to be a divine channel. Your earthly designation does not make you expressing of the divine. So one of the things that when we're moving forward and we're exercising discernment, we remember that it's about understanding that we are not here to just react. We're here to express love. And to express love asks us to start living in a love-informed way. So instead of trying to focus on other stuff, start focusing on what does that mean? What does it mean to start living in alignment with love? And it starts with looking at how you treat yourself. It doesn't start with looking at, well, I have to get rid of these people and I have to do that and I have to do to secure the space and to move out. And it has nothing to do with that at all. And in fact, if you're in that kind of like energy, you're out of it completely, right? It's a hard sell for a lot of people because they're struggling. Look at this guy struggling to get a spark here. But yet he's the king. This is the King of Wands. The King of Wands does what? Puts things into action. Now, the King of Wands, whoever it is, could be the you could be just representative of whatever, right? The King of Wands. And also, I do want to point out that whatever story your mind, you, the beloved viewer, is having here, because it's your mind, you're going to see a certain story. Some of you will be thinking, oh, I know who this is. This is a political figure I have in mind. I know what you're talking about, Jay. Talk that talk, right? And then there are some of you who would be like, oh, this is my boss at work. What a, talk your talk, Jay. For some of you, you'll be like, oh, I think this sounds like my father. I never knew him, but based on what I'm hearing, like from other people in life and stuff, like this sounds like him. And you may not even think you know this person enough to say, talk your talk, Jay. For some of you, you're going to be like, oh, this is an aspect of myself that I've noticed is playing out in the world today. I'm going to be like, talk your talk right now, because that's what I'm talking about, right? But whatever your mind sees when I'm telling you this energetic dynamic, go for it, right? Go for it. So a lot of people have to understand that everybody, you can say you're a king, you're a queen, whatever, we all have the ability to take action because we're motivated by something. Otherwise, you're animated by something. Otherwise you wouldn't get up and go, and you wouldn't do this, and you wouldn't get this cute hot beverage and blah, blah, blah. But the question is always, what's motivating you? What's inspiring you? What is the spark that's into you? Again, as we see here, a lot of people put up their arms, they put up they're like, oh, they put up their prayers, they burn their whatever people are burning these days, they set these laws, they set whatever people do on this planet. They think a lot of times that it's divinely inspired, and it's not. It's not. If you don't know thyself, if you don't even know why what you just said over the phone last night was said, why did I even say that? If you're so out of tune with yourself, how could you know what's actually motivating you and pushing you to do things? Sometimes we may be like, oh, well, it's the love of this person. That you don't know that. When we look deeply, or not even sometimes not even so deeply into your field, we realize it's not actually the love of this person or this person you love so much. It's your ego, and you don't want to be alone, and that's why you're doing this, right? Oh yeah, I bought them this car because I just want them to be safe coming home. And the world is like, yeah, yeah. And you believe that story, but then your friendly local energy reader and also your friendly local therapist, because they're trained as well to kind of see some of these things, right? They don't have to look at the energy field. And some of them are very intuitive, by the way. But they'll be like, actually, is it about them, or is this about you and the fact that you have abandonment issues? And you are in some way manipulating, creating a point of manipulation by giving them this car so that they can stay around. They can think highly of you and not leave, right? So, what I'm trying to say is self reflection is a very powerful thing because it helps us to understand more truthfully with ourselves, because this doesn't even have to be something you are sharing with somebody else to, hey, I need an accountability partner. You don't need all that. Sometimes you just need to sit and keep it 100 with yourself and say, what's going on? What am I doing? What am I thinking? What am I saying? What offended me today? What ground my gears today, right? What uplifted me today? What brought me to tears today? Who did I see today? Why? I mean, you don't have to live in this constant state of query, but this is what mindfulness is. It's about understanding it, or at least awareness, observation, right? And when you start to do that, then you're putting your human brain to some good use, because your human brain is now able to bring conscious awareness to what you're doing. And now it can start to track patterns for you. And of course, you still need to be diligent because the human brain is still also working with your egoic stuff and your unprocessed trauma and your and how that makes you see the world in a certain way, right? Your brain can tell you, oh, the last 10 times, like, oh, I noticed that I tend to, or it could tell you, oh, it notices that you tend to want to buy somebody something after you've had a great day. Like, wow, I get really happy and I just want to share my wealth and share myself and help other people, right? And that's a great thing. But you don't just stop there, because yes, your brain has started to tell you that that's something you do, but you want to start looking emotionally. Well, why am I doing that? The story, the quick story, because it makes sense to me. It feels right. Society says that could be it. And I never really questioned it. The quick story is because my cup runneth over and I want of happiness and with happiness and I want to share it. But actually, if I'm looking deeper in my closet and doing a little shadow work, I realize that actually that's not the case. I actually do that because I'm still contending with abandonment from age 6 when my parents had a divorce, and I didn't even realize. I don't even think about that. I'm not even mad at my parents. What is this even, right? So that's what the story, that's how we see how we have stories. That's how we see how we can work with our conscious mind to bring awareness to certain patterns. And that's how we see we can work with the emotional body and shadow work and deep inquiry and radical honesty to understand what's actually motivating this, because your emotions are a call to action. And so, therefore, you see, people don't really know why they do a lot of the things that they do. And that's why, as I'm saying this, I'm just feeling like this big tumbleweed just kind of unraveling for a lot of us, right? For some people in the cranial area, for some people in the gut area. And because we don't really always know what it is that we do, if ever, we definitely can't know why other people do things. We just can't. The most we've gotten to is hurt people, hurt people. And those who have training with, behavioral psych and just looking into things, they have more insight into seeing, shadows and engagement with the shadow self and the egoic self and all this and that projection, blah blah blah. So they have more of the story there as well. For some of you who've been around people a lot, and if you have the eye to see that, because you can just be around a lot of people and you don't see anything, right? But and you have the eye to see, you can see a lot, right? So the point is, it always will boil down. This is a long treatise to say, stop just going with what you see in the media. Just don't do it. Just don't do it. Now, part of me is like, why are we harping on this? But also part of me is like, duh, of course, why are we harping on this? Because this is a matter of you literally choosing whether to be stuck on the side of the road with red herrings. Red herrings. Now, this doesn't mean that the world doesn't need changing. In fact, it does. But the change comes through you taking care of you. It comes through you disconnecting anytime you have some major story, some mainstream idea, mainstream protocol, mainstream anything. You must keep your hands and legs and feet and head and neck inside the vehicle because the mainstream of society doesn't know anything. People react. And if you're here to help lead, even if you're not even doing so in some metaphysical, spiritual way or whatever, even if you're coaching little league or doing Zoom cooking classes to help housewives and young people at home or people who love to cook, whatever you're doing, it stands to benefit from you grouping regrouping your energy to self. And it calls for you to put on the I. What does the I say? What does the I says? The I says, don't come around here with that mess. It doesn't have to say it that way. The I says, okay, I see something occurring here. Okay, I hear what people are saying about it. I hear what my mind is saying about it. I feel the energies and emotions coming from all these people that were affected. I feel the energies coming from myself, the emotions. I pause. I recognize what my quick instinct is to do. How do I want to react quickly? What was my first reaction even before I heard anything? What was my first reaction? I allow for it. I relax. I release. I reflect upon how that reaction came up from me. What else did it do inside of me? What else has it touched? It struck a chord, obviously. Or what chord inside me was being plucked? Why this event and not that one? Why was this the issue? Why with this group of people is it the issue? But why not with those groups of people that have been going through this for a long time? And it's never covered. Why, ask yourself these things. This is critical reflection, right? Why am I listening over here? Now, keep looking. What are other people doing? What are other people saying? What are other people feeling? What are other people making it mean? Now, this is the clinch pin. Your meanings belong to you. It is what your suffering and the suffering of people is all about the meanings that they make about things. Yes, there's, ow, that hurt, but what do you make it mean? And what you make something mean is going to be the difference between your release and your own imprisonment, right? When we talk to and we interview and we hear these stories and read these biographies and autobiographies about people who have just been, we were like, dude, I would have tapped out. I would have tapped out. I can't even imagine what that must be like. What, right? It's inspiring. How did they do it? I will guarantee you at some point in their story, amidst all the harrowing details, they will, if they choose to share it, have made a choice. And that choice is going to be whatever that choice is going to be what gets them to not give up, to keep going. It could be like, F it. I'm screwed anyway. I might as well keep going. It could be, oh, well, I'm doing this in the name of all the silent ancestors that I have. I'm going to keep going. It could be even that highest sense of awareness, forgive them, Father, they know not what they do. In the sense like, hey, I get it. These people are operating this way because of their learnings, their programming, their sociocultural programming, their fear of making themselves be seen and heard. Their could be something as simple as, hey, I get it. They have a whole home of filled with a wife and children that they need to provide for. And if they do, right, I get it. I'm in this position to be able to make a choice here and to be the change agent where they're not. Oh, hey, they have a perception that they're choosing between life and death. And I see that that is true for them. So I understand, I get it. Whatever it is that gets people to keep going, whatever it is, it always is going to boil down to a choice, right? And so what I'm trying to say, I don't my conscious mind's coming in like, what are we trying to say? What I'm trying to say is that the well runs deeper than it seems. And of course, as you guys know me, I'm always like, don't get caught up, guys. Don't get caught. As your friendly local Janelle Bean, I tell you, even when I'm watching certain TV, like I'm not gonna say which TV show I was watching. Well, I wasn't watching it, but my family member was watching it, and I was watching them watch it. And I'm just gonna say it's a show with a family, and there are a couple of them that's very famous. And as my family member was watching that show, I could just see, energetically speaking, like these dark tendrils just reaching out at them, right? So you want to be mindful about what you're buying into, because anytime you turn on your TV, anytime you tune in, that's what you're doing. You're tuning into things. And some of you tune into trees, some of you tune into the way of the wind, right? And we tend to call these people wisdom keepers because they're tuning into nature, and nature tells no lies, period. In fact, nature will give you a heads up. Nature will give you a great rendering of the history of a space. Nature will reflect back to you who you are. Nature will show you who you've been being. Nature will heal you. Nature, tuning into nature, that's a whole flex. Okay. And we know that. That's why we call these people who can do these things wisdom keepers on some level. But what does society say? Right? Oh, they're but it's so woo woo. They're you know cockamamie. They're the ancients. They're the old times. They're out of touch. They're indigenous. They're whatever terms that now somehow have this pejorative meaning, right? But we understand that no, that's the truth. Nature is something you always want to tune into. Okay. And I'm not talking about these artificial GMO nature creation makings that are made. I'm talking about, for reals, getting out there, connecting with the sun, with the water, with the air, with the stillness, right? Some people tune into poetry. Poetry, oh, has the ability to really be a beautiful conduit. Some people tune into the hearts of mankind, right? If those hearts are still open enough to even be connected to, right? But if you're just choosing to just sleepwalk and I tune in to channel so and so, and I hear this account, and now I am upset, must kill, must tweet, must be enraged, right? Then what you're doing is you're just literally creating, when you tune in, you create a cable between you and that thing. And now you are force fed frequencies, 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 frequencies. And that's all you're just pumping into yourself all day. And now you've got conversations. Now you're the hit at the party because you've got things you can talk about. But when you view these things from a higher perspective, you're not really talking about anything. And in fact, what you're being called to do is to take a step back. That's it, stepping back. Find an empty closet, go sit in it, or an empty bathroom, or somewhere quiet, under a tree, somewhere that you cannot be disturbed. Sit, relax, and just be. Inhale, exhale. Step into the awareness that, wow, if I just sat here and for the next, let's say, 48 hours, would anyone notice? And maybe, of course, yeah, because you're like, hey, I got 6 kids at home. Yeah, sure, it's great, right? But what about the person across the world that I was, or what about the person at work that I was railing at today? Or what about this and that, right? Find ways to disconnect. If you can give yourself a chance to disconnect and sit in silence and bring yourself back to self. When we say disconnect, we're not saying to become this heartless, cold, whatever, bad citizen, whatever your programming will tell you is going on there. No, we're asking you to clean up your energy field. Call yourself back into alignment, back into self. because otherwise you're just giving your energy away willy-nilly. Plug, 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 plug. And then on top of that, you're allowing your energy field to be pumped up with all these false ideas, false notions, red herrings, things that are purposefully presented to you in a way so as to offset your nervous system, to keep you out of your seat of divinity, to keep you confused, keep you angry, keep you enraged, keep you with this dichotomy in your mind of us against them. Whoever your us is, you've been programmed to think is that. Whoever your them is, you've been programmed to think about that. Whatever ideals you think are right, you've been programmed. Whatever you think is wrong, you've been programmed. Whatever actions you think you need to take because it's your right and your requirement as a citizen, as a woman, as a member of this group, as a whatever, you've been programmed, right? It's programming. And like any good program, anytime the program gets into danger of being revealed for what it is, guess what happens? We have defense. And that's when you start seeing people come up with these cockamamie ideas like, oh, well, why did you say? Well, I just felt that I had to say something because, and today we have the term Karen to talk about that in terms of our everyday, like, well, what's going on with this person? Wow, Karen's crashing out over blah, 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 right? But what you don't realize is that this energy, this archetype of the Karen may very well live in you as well. If you're very quick to get incited, to be inflamed by something that you see somewhere, as opposed to saying, oh, that's interesting. Wow. Well, look at that. Wow. Somebody has that idea. That's interesting. I wonder why, I wonder what makes them have that idea. Nobody wonders anything anymore. They're just quick. And you also know this because events happen or something happens, and then the very next day, sometimes the same day, the very next day, people are like, right? And not inviting certain people to their house anymore, or not patronizing this anymore, or not that, or not that. And now I've got to talk about this because I'm an influencer and I have to talk about the way I was treated at this restaurant. And then next thing you hear, the whole restaurant closes, and all of, the internet or just whatever, whoever is in the space has now made this, they're falling on one side, like, oh, well, they were wrong, oh, they were wrong, and blah, 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 blah. It's like a modern day, what do you call this? What did I used to have back in the day? The mob, the public mobs. We hear about them back in England. What was it? These people, I can't remember what it's called, but a whole bunch of people just, yeah, let's hang them, let's do it. And they're throwing tomatoes at them and stuff. This is what this is today. And that's why now we also have this apology culture and cancel culture. And this is any of that stuff just, ugh. Just if you were alive and you were functioning in this world prior to the internet, then you must have an appreciation for how much BS a lot of stuff is. But remember, a lot of people grew up with the internet. They grew up, or they were born into the time of the internet. So they literally lack an awareness and an appreciation for a time where things were not as there weren't so many traps. Now, it doesn't mean that there wasn't a lot of stuff going on, because there was. So the internet has, we're talking about internet now, but the internet has been a blessing in many ways. But you have to, as with everything, be self-contained so that you can function in alignment with your reality, with your truth, with your divinity, which is heart, mind, alignment, chakric alignment. Your chakras are literally the openings for your vessel. You're this cute little sphere, super cute. And you're not completely cut off from everything else, universal energy. No, you have to have openings within your vessel so that you can receive universal energy, universal flow. In other words, you have to receive God energy. But these openings, these chakras, and you have many of them, we just tend to talk about the main seven of them. A lot of people now are starting to expand, and well, not now, but we're looking at it now a lot more about into the 12 chakras, and then we're going beyond, right? And so we, as our consciousness grows and awareness, we start to see this being reflected. But the thing is, we need to keep these chakric spaces clean and clear and balanced, because they're literally what controls the flow of your life force energy. That's what chakras do. They metabolize energy. They take the flow of love and light, literally God energy, divine energy, prana, whatever. They take it in through the chakra. And what they do is then it's broken down, metabolized, sent into our lovely nadis and our meridians and all that, which are our non-physical slash energetic anatomy. I guess you can say cardiovascular system in a sense, right? It pumps prana into your field, and then that starts to hit the physical, right? It starts to get into your physical body. It hits those spaces, those organs and whatnot that we need to release certain hormones. And so that's where that transfer from the non-physical to the physical starts happening. Now, what can block these chakras? So basically, if you have poor chakra health, you're going to have poor bodily health. What's directing the flow of these energies throughout your field? It is your belief system. So you literally, through your belief system, either you're believing in things and paying attention to things that are loving and exposing your things to love and sharing the love as you are naturally programmed to do, or you're mucking around and doing the opposite. You are operating outside of alignment with your natural health and well-being. You need to have your chakras clear. You need to have your mind fixed in love and balance. But when you keep opening up to all this stuff, it's literally, you might as well take your head and just dump it into a cesspool that, sorry for the imagery, but I'm just trying to get this across. Dump it into a cesspool that's at the base of a chemical plant and a horse field or whatever, right? A cow field, and just breathe underwater and just gulp it all up, because that's what you're doing. You're allowing these things in. And then how can you walk around clear-mindedly, making great decisions for yourself and other people, being divine channeled, helping and to raise the frequency? How can you do that on this planet? And however you wanted to do it, could be through making things, through holding community classes, through loving people, through lending an ear. How could you even vibrate high enough to call those kinds of high vibrational frequencies in when you're walking around like a toxic popsicle? You're walking around with low frequency energies. And so if you're still here, hi, then this message was for you, and it's for everybody, myself included, right? It's for all of us. But the point we're saying here is, on this planet, you are the steward of your health and well-being. Just imagine yourself wearing the cutest little backpack you wanted to be wearing. You arrived on this planet. You've got your parachute, you've cut your parachute off, you've put it away because now you're on the ground and you've just started walking. Where have you found yourself? No one said you have to be in alignment with any one organization or group or this and that. No one said all that. You somehow have, maybe through your sociocultural conditioning, maybe you had an event happen in your life and it made you see certain things, made you feel a certain way. It's not too late to disconnect from all that. Even just give yourself a couple of days. Give yourself a couple of days to sit and regroup. It's okay to miss an event that is playing out across the world stage. Not all events are for you anyway. Remember, everyone's soul contract has nuance. It's different. Just because we all own a TV, for example, just because we all own a TV and it's all broadcasting something and everyone and their mother seems to be talking about it, when you look at it, maybe only 5 of those 8 people are supposed to even be tuning into that, and for different reasons. Why? Because they're supposed to heal something different within each of themselves. And once they resolve that issue within themselves and they gain some clarity on it, then they can look upon the event in another way and share themselves with other people. And the other three people saw maybe they were supposed to be focusing on other stuff that they needed to heal themselves. And so they can be made available to heal other people and help elevate them, but they're getting stuck in frequencies that don't belong to them either. Right. So, anyway, I'm going to end this session here because you have 3 minutes left. And so, if you would like to have a personal reading with me, come hit me up. But yeah, if something else comes through, I'll come and share. Okay. God bless you guys. Bye.